The reason why people don't empty their cup is because there's a period of time of loneliness.
Money makes people bad. Money's the root of all evil. Money changes people.
I love money. I friggin' love money. Rain it down.
Yeah. I love money and money loves me. Welcome to the Path to Purpose podcast, where I share incredible conversations with amazing humans who went through a pivotal shift in their lives that have put them on their path of purpose, profit, and impact. My name's Zarak Fatah. I'm a serial entrepreneur and life coach. I went through my own transformational journey where I'm now committed to living a life of inspiration, education, and empowerment. My intention is to share these conversations so they inspire you to also walk your path to purpose. Big man Rick.
Yes, sir.
What up?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here.
You're
Appreciate
welcome,
you joining me for this conversation. Well, we're gonna dive in, man. We're gonna want to talk about your path of personal development, of growth, evolution, leadership. Thank you. Yesterday, I had a beautiful opportunity to speak to your team and share a little bit what I do with them. And, it felt good being up there. It really, I think you'd mentioned it was kind of a full circle moment, where, we first met in Guatemala back in 2017. We were there with Artbound. And, I obviously knew your wife, but hadn't had a chance to meet you. I heard a lot about you, so it was a beautiful opportunity to be there with you.
Yeah.
And Mavi, we're going to drop in some B-roll to show Big Rick in action, digging the trenches, getting ready to build those classrooms.
Yeah.
Man, it's been beautiful just to witness your growth and evolution and all that you're doing with your EXP team and just, overall, just with your sons and your personal journey of evolution with Sanya and everything. So man, just happy to have you on here because, you are, first off, you're deep in the work, you're a leader and you're now sharing what you've learned, the tools, the lessons, and all that you've been through with your team, which I think is so beautiful. So, I just love for you to share a little bit about your come up and, what led you to what you're doing now. And let's start with that.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Man. Yeah. Sonia introduced us. So just wanted to tell a quick story on that. We call it the plug, man.
The plug.
She knows
she's a plug. Yeah, she does.
I just show up.
Yeah.
I'm like that, man. But I just shows up. But and then she introduced us. But one thing I really liked about you is during that trip, you weren't being the cool guy. You were very vulnerable and authentic. And I think that was a place in my life that I was at as well.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to meet those kind of people all the time. So I think I was very grateful, and that whole crew was awesome, being able to open up and things like that. So that's why we started calling you Laddu. You remember that? And Laddu, for those of you guys who don't know, it's a delicious Indian dessert. And the reason why he got that name is not because he likes sugar, which he does, but it's because me and Sonia is like, this guy's a sweetheart. So we started calling him Laddu.
Just to that, thank you. I appreciate that. And, when you're in Toronto and you're in the city, you got your, back then I had a certain identity and certain persona.
We all did, man.
And then, you're in Guatemala, you're in these, I don't want to call them slums, but villages, and you're like, all that shit, all that.
It's eye-opening.
All that identity and all the fancy stuff just goes out the window, because you're just there to be of service. And at that point, 2017, I was probably a couple of years into my personal development journey. And I was definitely going through this transitional stage where I was being humbled in many ways because I was realizing, damn, I don't want to be that guy anymore, And that was a great opportunity just to be with other like-minded people. Because, when people come together for a trip like that, it's like, there's all kinds of people on that trip, and of all different, ages, ethnicities, tax brackets, and they're coming together to be of service, to be in Guatemala, to, dig ditches and build bunk beds and be of service. And that's what's beautiful about those type of initiatives, because you get to meet people who are on the same vibe, right?
And the whole opening up at the end of the night when we're doing our activities, it was just awesome.
Yeah.
Come up. Where do I start, man? It's just, that typical, I don't want to say it's typical because it's my story. It's not a typical story. But, coming out from immigrant parents that came here from a new country. My dad actually went to high school here and all those things. Born in Vancouver, raised in Ontario, like Toronto, Rexdale, Mississauga. Back then, it's like, I call it the apartment building living, right? Your parents are doing your thing. They're working all the time. They don't understand the ins and outs of the country. So we got to figure it out by ourselves. So I had an older brother, a younger brother. And as soon as I hit, I would say grade 9, it was on. Like my older brother at that point, he was 3 years older than me. He had all these cool friends, and I made all these cool friends. And then it was kind of like a suburban gang almost, right? We were doing all these crazy things. Going to school wasn't one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem admitting in grade 10, my son, my older son right now is 15 years old, okay? When I was 15 years old, I wouldn't go to school. I got 0 credits. The whole year I got 0 credits. The principal kicked me out of school. He's like, hey, you're not coming to school. I'm going to kick you out of school. Hey, that's a favor to me. Right? So I was thinking, what was I doing back then, right? So I was like visiting other schools, you know, checking out girls, hanging out with friends, smoking dope, drinking on the hill. 15 years old, going to clubs, fake ID, all that kind of stuff. Looking back at it now, there's a couple of things that put me on my path, but I think my biggest superpower that I'm leaning into is I was very observant. I can learn from watching.
Okay.
I didn't have to learn from doing, right? So I can look at other people's mistakes and be like, I don't have to do that. I don't have to follow those steps. I'm like, okay, 1 + 2 = 3. I don't need to follow that path.
So where do you think you developed that skill from? Because typically when people are very hypervigilant and attentive like that, it comes from a place of survival. You know, so I'm curious to know, like, how did you develop that ability to be so observant?
Yeah.
And then also that hustle, that desire to, you know, to do your own thing and be an entrepreneur.
Okay, the first one first, the ability to be observant. I know now what it was. Back then I didn't.
Okay.
I feel that I've been here many times. I don't want to take this conversation to.
We can
it
go,
is what
we
it
can
is,
go
right?
all woo
So
into-
I
yeah,
do
if you
feel.
want,
I
yeah.
believe in soul contracts.
Sure.
I believe in we're spirits, and I just felt that, you know, we call it older soul, a younger soul. I know that observant wasn't observing at all. It was a superpower. I think I've been here 1 or 2 times or more, and I can just kind of navigate that, right? So that's hard for me to put into words. But now let's get some things that people could take away. One thing that really saved me is audiobooks.
Okay.
There was a store called Audio Book World, and anybody that's in Saga was at QEW in that Rab area, QEW in here, Ontario. We only had one, and back then it was DVDs. And I used to listen to, I was in someone's car, and they were listening to Brian Tracy.
Okay.
Okay, and I was like, holy man, like, wow, I was enthralled. I don't know why. And then I got a membership to that book. It's called the Audiobook World. You can rent them out like Blockbuster, right? Keep them for a week and then do that. And I always went to the self-development area. And when chapters came along after that, I always went to the self-development area. So one of the people that like really saved my life was Jim Rohn.
Okay.
I got enthralled with Jim Rohn. I love the way he spoke. I'm like, oh my God, because I never had anybody in life teaching me that stuff.
Okay. So if your father didn't pass on any of that knowledge or wisdom.
Ah, man, my father's trying to figure it out on his own, right?
Right.
Nice guy. I think from my dad, I learned a lot of good values. Not that he taught me, by watching him.
Yep,
He's
same.
never cheated anybody. His word is his word. He's a hard worker. He's not going to go teach you how to throw a baseball and stuff, but that's okay. That I don't feel that was his job.
Right.
He had 2 jobs. He's trying to put food on the table. You know, people are probably making fun of him back then for the color of his skin. Who knows what he had to go through? They didn't even know the language. My mom didn't know the language. She had to learn English. So who am I to think that they can like teach me all these things? It's my job to evolve that to my kids. And that's what I take pride in doing now. So that book world, back to the audio bookstore, man, I just got enthralled, listened to it, got into Dreyer, got into Rohn, all of them, all that good stuff. So I think that was my mentorship growing up.
Got it. Yeah. And was there, so, you know, you're not doing well in school, you know, you're skipping class, hanging out, having fun, you know, and so was there a catalyst or something that had you say, you know what?
Yeah.
There got to be more.
My first girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah, grade 11. Yeah. 2 things. I got to start really early, right? So I was drinking and doing all that kind of stuff like when I was 15 years old, man, right? Getting into stolen cars, getting all this stuff, stupid stuff, right? So my teachers used to tell me, hey, man, you don't hang around with those guys. I'm like, hey, they're my brothers, man, right? And then I met a girl. And growing up, I lacked affection, right?
Okay.
I got love food's on the table, you know, roti's always on the table, but not affection, no hugs, no kisses and stuff. This is just my work that I've
From
done.
your mom or dad?
Mom or dad.
Okay, got it.
right? So, and I don't fault them for that, but it is what it is. And I think a lot of young immigrants
Sure,
went through
went
that,
through the
right?
exact same.
So I didn't know what affection was, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, the first serious girl that I got, I'm like, oh my God, we can hug, we can touch, I can talk about my feelings. It was like a drug, man, right? She broke my heart, cheated on me, left me for a rich guy, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll get into that if you want, right? But she was the one that showed me, she's like, yo, like, you're smart. She was a year older than me. She was, I'm going to go to university. You want to come? So she was kind of like that. Like, I don't want to say, she's anchor in my life back then.
Okay.
That showed me like, hey, here, this is how you get into university. You have to do this. Here's the application. All I had to do was get good grades. Back then it was 12 in OAC. I rocked it. I got like a 93 average.
Wow.
Because I just followed it, right? So she was the anchor. I'll give her credit. That took me away from that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And the bookstore, and man, all the people I just didn't want to be around anymore.
Sure.
Dude. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to like, selling weed, bro. I sold weed for a while, right? Get into that story. So we got ounces of weed. It was legal back then, so whatever. And it's in my house, and I'm sitting it up. I'm breaking it up, putting it to foil paper. People are coming to my house. I'm dropping it off, and I'm getting $10. I guess I was always an entrepreneur. I'm like, this is not worth all this work, man.
Right.
Yeah, I did it for like 2 days. I'm like, this is stupid. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't want to get into that. And the guys that I was hanging around with, they went from drinking at parties to drinking every day to getting to ecstasy and acid and all that kind of fun stuff. And I was like,
You saw they were going down a dark path.
dark path. Yeah. And the reason why I used to go to clubs back in the day, and a day is to meet girls. I never had that. You know, I just wanted to get drunk and meet girls, right? Yeah, you know, that's what I wanted to do, hang out with the boys, meet the girls. I didn't like going to bars and just hanging out and watching sports. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel that her dumping you, I'm going to go back to the girlfriend who left you, do you feel that her dumping you
cried,
for a
bro.
guy with money instilled a belief in you that you need to make money to be loved?
I wouldn't say that, but it did say, all right, there was a couple of things. That was one of them. So let's talk about it. So I was like, okay, I'm competitive too.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, it's money. So if it's money, let's go friggin' get this money. If that's the rules of the game, let's go get this money. How do I do it? I don't know. Bro, I am the biggest procrastinator you'll ever meet, dude. Tomorrow is so relieving to me. If you said to me and you messaged me, my real self, right? If you messaged me this morning, say, hey, bro, something came up, can we do the podcast tomorrow? I'd feel great.
Interesting.
I would feel
Where do you
great.
think that comes from?
It's a habit that I have to fight.
Okay.
I know it's there. That's why I know I'm healed. Mom says, hey, take out the garbage. I'll do it tomorrow. Study for an exam tomorrow. Shit, the exam is tomorrow. Get a doctor's note. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, so it was always at tomorrow. I am the biggest procrastinator, but I know that. And I think the cure for that, I think the healing is in the knowing. And then and then if you do the opposite pattern long enough, that opposite pattern becomes a habit. So now I can talk about that guy, but I'm not that person anymore.
Got it. Okay. That's personal development. That's growth.
That's growth.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So I'm curious, just digging into the habit. You know, there's a belief behind the habit. So there's a belief you have about doing something now versus doing it later.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, what would that belief be that has you say, I don't need to do it now, I'll do it later. Because I know you're not lazy.
Yeah.
I know you're ambitious and you're driven.
Yeah.
But there's something there that you want to put it off to the next day.
I don't know about that, man. I am ambition and driven on the things that I think are important to me.
Okay.
And the other things is sometimes I can be lazy.
Yeah.
Like when my wife asked me to change the light bulbs,
Yeah.
that might go on for 2 weeks, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't find it important. I'll
Yeah.
delegate it. I'll be like, let me make more money so I
Yeah.
can hire someone to do that
Yeah.
for me, right?
But in all fairness, I think everybody feels that way and
Okay.
procrastinates on the things that
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
light them up.
Yeah.
And that's where, the discipline and the commitment and the boundaries that you set for yourself
what you mean.
to be able to self-regulate and instill that discipline. Because it's like going to the gym, right? Like, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. I'll go to the gym tomorrow. Next thing you know, a month goes by. And that's why, like us being accountability partners and having that layer of committed to someone and now, I'm on the hook for it, makes a huge difference, right? And that's the challenge with a lot of entrepreneurs, realtors, people that work for themselves. They don't have anybody looking over their shoulder, to keep them accountable, to make sure that things get done when they're supposed to. And that's the tricky thing. And where I actually learned accountability and discipline, and why, the gym is so important for me, is I learned that through the gym. Because like you, I grew up with two parents who they could provide me with the basics, but anything beyond that, I didn't get the affection, I didn't get the guidance or the life lessons from them, and I didn't learn to play sports. So at 17 years old, I joke and say I used to look like E.T., skinny arms and legs and a little belly, and I was insecure as a result of that. Never got picked for sports teams, last one. I just didn't feel like I fit in. And it's the gym that taught me, what? It's you versus you. You do the work every day. You put in those extra reps when no one's counting. And you do that long enough, you stay consistent, one day you're going to look in the mirror and you'll be like, damn, what happened? And it's through training for the first 3 months when I was 17 years old.
That's when you get the most gains.
That's when I started to change my body. And then I realized, oh, wow, way to make girls like muscles. And that's where I developed my mindset. Because like you, I left high school at 17. And I needed to find that discipline and commitment within myself, because growing up in Scarborough, I knew, like, I want a nice life, and staying in Scarborough ain't gonna get that for me. So I applied that discipline that I learned at the gym and applied that to all other aspects of my life, and that's what really pushes me through. Because they say you never leave the gym and say, "Oh God, I wish I didn't do that." But like getting up, putting on your clothes, putting on your shoes, getting out the door, that's the hardest part about getting to the gym. But once you're in there, it's like, let's go.
That's amazing, bro. Like, I'm resonating so hard right now, because the gym is what I did it for me too at 15 years old. And that kind of, while you were speaking, I was like, I want to give a little takeaway that anybody that's watching is finding what you like. Like you're saying, I don't like switching light bulbs, but I love what I'm doing now. I like the results at the gym. So I think if you find that passion, we hear it all the time. If you actually like what you do, then it doesn't become like work. Then you're like, oh, I am not that procrastinator, right? Like when I had a 9-to-5, bro, I got an awesome job. I guess looking back, I was an awesome sales guy because I wasn't qualified. I wasn't qualified for this job. It was an accounting job, one of the top ones in the top firms in the city. Came in, I saw the guy, his name was Jason Monteith. Love you, bro. He was the manager interviewing me. He had a soccer poster. He had a sports posters. Bro, I came in, I started talking about sports. He liked me, right? Got the job. Second interview because I like this kid. I got the job. Poor Jason, he saw potential in me, but I started skipping school, bro. 5-6 days turned into 10. Getting in at 9 a.m. turned into 10. Hour lunches turned into 2. I would never do that once I got my real estate license. So my real estate license actually, bro, changed my life. I owe a lot to my real estate license because no one was watching me and I had to do things on my own. That's when I started realizing my power. That's when I started realizing, hey man, like when you do things for yourself, it's like the gym. The more you go, the better results you get. Oh wow, let me lean into my diet. More results. Let me hit up my sleep. More results. So when you're an entrepreneur, same kind of thing. Let's go in. Let's make more calls. Made a little bit of money. Let's invest that in real estate. Let's invest that into marketing. So that was good too. So being an entrepreneur, maybe I don't. Do you believe in being a born entrepreneur?
I think people are born with certain, let's say, inherent characteristics. Human design. Are you familiar with human design?
Probably not as much as you.
Okay, so I feel that human design, combination of astrology. I'll send you some info on it. I think you'd be very interested. I'm a manifestor. That is my design. I'm also a triple Leo. And if you...
triple Leo. Seriously.
So, and if you were to read up on the characteristics, you would say, yeah, for sure, that's Zarak, So I do believe that there is some significance to the time and place you were born. I do feel that human design and astrology does have its place. So I would say that, yes, you are born with a certain, let's say, imprint that you are naturally gifted to do certain things, right? And then this is where I think the education system fails a lot of young children. They have one generic program for all children, even though obviously each one of us is unique in our own way. And I hope there comes a day when the education system will take into account things like human design and astrology to know, like, okay, these children are really creative. Don't put them in math. These kids are really like logical and analytical. Give them science and algebra or whatever, and being able to differentiate between children. But I mean, I don't want to get into that whole tangent about the education system, because clearly the education system didn't work for us until we found what we were passionate about. Like for myself, I've gone so deep into personal development, spending well into the six figures to train and educate and develop myself because I found something I'm passionate about, right? And like they say, when you find your why, you figure out the how. So like real estate was for you, it was your why. It's me versus me. It's like I can generate how much I want to make. I'm my own boss and I can create my own abundance. And you went all in on it. For me with personal development, it's like, wow, I can help people change their lives.
Yeah.
And I can elevate myself. And as a result, I can help others do the same. Okay, I like this. So I went all in. And I think, for anybody listening who's bored, who's feeling stagnant, feeling that procrastination, you're only procrastinating because you haven't found your passion yet.
Yeah.
And when you find that passion, you jump out of bed excited.
Yeah.
You are exhilarated. You work, and it sounds cliche, but when you find what you love, you never work another day in your life, because every day you're going to bed exhausted, but you're feeling so fulfilled and so grateful because it's like, wow, that's what I got to do today. And unfortunately, a lot of people will not venture out and try to explore and see what's there for them because they're following the program, the paradigm of what they think they're supposed to be doing, and that's why conversations like this disrupt that narrative of, following the go to school, get a 9 to 5, get married, have kids, get a mortgage, blah, 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 because like that's okay if you want to live an average life. But, for you and I, and I'm sure many people listening to this podcast, we're not here to live an average life.
We want to live a great life. And one of the things I think is just to be open to the fact that you might be friggin' wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's a huge revelation. And when I started saying that, hey, not every youth, that is the way you were socialized, that are your beliefs. There's other beliefs. Why don't you dive into that, right? So it wasn't until I opened up to coaching and learning new things and understanding and really being a student, having thirst for knowledge is important. I don't think you can grow if you don't have thirst. You just can't, right? And then you have to be, like, I meet so many people in the world that, people close to me. I used to be one of them. Any conversation you have, I know. Well, if you friggin' know, then why is your results not friggin' where you want them to be, right? So getting rid of that I know attitude, and that's why they say surround yourself with people that you want to be like, right? Sure. It all stems from other rooted things, and I think that is just being open to ideas that might not be your beliefs, but will get you where you want to go.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And to your point about the thirst or the curiosity, it's about wanting to expand your knowledge beyond what you think you know, because you might know a lot from reading your books and from whatever content you're consuming, but you're still perceiving it through the lens, through the worldview that you've developed as a result of your life experiences. So you may have a perspective based on what you think you know, but what you know and what's true for you is not true for someone else. And if you're not happy with the results you're getting in your life because you keep repeating the same patterns, a lot of people know what they should be doing, but they keep doing it because they don't understand they have blockages and limitations that are stopping them from actually taking action. And it's when you're in a room with other people who have contrasting opinions or who have a different perspective on life, if you're open and you're receptive to hearing what they have to share, there could be that shift in perspective. And in that shift is the missing piece of information that could remove the blockage that's holding you back. Yeah. And that's why, the first thing I ever did was my program was Landmark. Yeah. And Landmark helped me to see what was in my, as they say, their blind spot, because you don't know what you don't know. And I knew at that point, even though I'd been successful in business and had many beautiful girlfriends and traveled the world and did all that, there was something missing that was holding me back from having financial abundance, finding the love of my life, starting a family, and being able to do something more something more purposeful and fulfilling. Yeah. And you need to stay curious to discover what's missing, right? Because again, we have our worldview, and our worldview might just be like this, but then there's all of this over here. You're like, oh shit, I didn't even see that over there. And you won't be able to expand your perspective if you're not open and curious, and if you're not socializing and mixing with other people who can provide that expansive perspective for you.
Mic drop. You were at the office yesterday, doing your thing, wheeling and dealing. I got a lot of value from that.
Great.
And, it was packed with all the realtors I love and care about. And I was watching it, I was learning, but I was also watching it from a perspective of like, if we don't understand this, and by this I mean your teachings and the things that we're talking about, that will never happen.
No.
You won't attract it into your world. You won't be that magnet. Above and beyond, you won't. See, I tell people in my organization and just people around me and my children, by the way, that's a whole different story. And my children, I'm like, listen, build one belief in your life. One. Stop smoking. Lose that 10 pounds. Get on the mic and talk in front of 10 people. Build one belief. For you, it was the gym, right? Once you build one belief, that leads into confidence.
Yes.
And that leads into other things that you can conquer. Because when you can conquer one thing, you know you can conquer others. A professional basketball player, although might not be the best soccer player on the soccer field, he can go out or she can go out and go play soccer because they know that they're one of the best basketball players, right? So just go out there, build one belief, and it just expands into other things. And then you start really, man, if I have one wish for anybody that's watching or comes across as just, I want you to feel what we're feeling right now. Please, like, don't leave this planet without feeling this, because this feels good.
Yeah, it's a different way of living.
It's a different way of living. It's like, I really feel at this point, and there's no destination, but I'm grateful. Like, as soon as I walk out of my house, I'm expecting good things to happen.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just boom, boom, boom. They're just coming. Like, people like you are coming in my life. People like Nikki. My wife, man. She came into my life, dude. I never had good relationships. We can, I don't want to dive into anything you want, but yeah, I got a divorce before all that stuff happened, right?
Yeah, yeah. And to your point about, you have options. We'll call it different paths to how you want to live, right?
Yeah.
There is, and not to sound like derogatory or offensive, but the majority of the human population is unconscious. They're living unconscious. Unintentionally, they're just following the program. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, get married, have kids, get a house, a mortgage, and retire at 65 and be dead by 67.
Yeah.
That is the matrix. That is the lifestyle that we have been told is what we should aspire to have. And definitely in the last couple of years, this is that paradigm or that model of what it means to be successful is being blown apart with the increase of disease, increase of mental health issues, suicide rates. Like, what we've been told is the way clearly doesn't work. And why I really enjoyed being there yesterday is I know a lot of people in that room, they heard what I had to share for the first time in their life, hearing about vibration and frequency and energy and understanding the concept of like attracts like. These are all things we've known for many years, but for some of them, I could just see.
That must have been tough for you, though, because where you came from, right? Like, you were this nightlife dude, right? Get me into the club, right? Like, that's like, I can only imagine all the things that you went through when you said, hey, now I'm going through this path.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was definitely a
because that's not the crowd that's going to see you and give you high fives and doing that.
For 2 or 3 years, there was definitely a lot of imposter syndrome there as I was going from the nightlife guy to becoming a retreat leader and a coach. However, as more people started to see my transformation and realize, like, oh shit, this guy's actually doing it. And then as other people, during the pandemic, they started to go through their own challenges with career, marriage, mental health. They understood why I left Toronto to go do what I did.
Yeah.
And I had been, I would say probably I was 3 or 4 years ahead of, I would say, a lot of the people that I coach and work with. So I was able to kind of show them, like, hey, there is a different way, and you don't have to be living by the hustle, grind, and chase, projecting this image of who you think you should be, right?
Yeah.
So now when I come back to Toronto, people are excited to talk to me. People want to, like, hey, let's get together for coffee. Hey, I want to learn about your coaching. People get it now because they realize, oh shit, yeah, like a coach can really help me navigate this. I don't got to do it on my own. So now when I come back, I love it because, as I said, speaking in front of a group like your team yesterday, I could see they're hearing something they've never heard before. And whether they sign up for my program or not, what they heard yesterday is going to impact them in some way. You know, maybe they're going to go buy a book, Think and Grow Rich. Maybe they're going to go and buy, you know, Letting Go, Pathway to Surrender. Maybe they're going to start researching Dr. Joe Dispenza based on what I shared. And who knows, maybe that will be the catalyst for them to discover there's another way. Rather than following the matrix paradigm, working the 9 to 5 to have 2-3 weeks off a year or whatever, you know, they'll realize, like yourself, as realtors, you are your own entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You eat what you kill. You have the ability to grow your business however, but you need to be in that vibration of abundance. And I feel what they heard yesterday will be an opportunity for them to realize, like, if they're feeling guilty, if they're hustling, if they're caught in that identity, they're blocking their abundance because they're operating from a place of fear and scarcity. And to your point, when you open your door and you start your day, you're in a state of abundance. You're in a state of gratitude and appreciation. You are telling the universe, you're telling God, yo, I'm ready. Bring it. Come on, I'm here.
1000%.
And when you're open and receptive like that, God, the universe, wants to send you whatever because you're open to receiving it. But if you're living and operating from a place of scarcity and fear and guilt and shame and lack, you're not the vibrational frequency of abundance. It just, you know, it's
nailed it.
as easy as that, you know. And that's why I love sharing this work, because 7-8 years ago I was completely oblivious to all of this, you know. And thankfully I've worked with some amazing teachers and facilitators who've shared this with me. And you know, I've been a promoter since I've been you know, in my early 20s. So for me, I'm now a promoter of personal development. I'm now a promoter of letting people know that there are many paths in life you can take. Some will take you to dark places. Some will take you to the average okay life. But if you really want to live, you know, a life of true abundance, excellence, and juicy, you know, romantic, sexy, you know, dynamic life, then it's there for you. But you gotta choose it every day.
Yeah.
You know, getting back to the discipline, you know, you gotta choose it every day.
And it's an evolution. The thing that I've been working on lately is the ability to receive.
Okay.
Right? So, dude, if me and you went to lunch and you paid the bill, I'd get the fits. I want to take that bill and pay it.
Yeah,
right? I got you, right?
Yeah.
Trying to dive into where that's coming from, but more importantly, and how do I change that? Because I'm fine. So 2 things I'm not doing anymore. I'm stopped telling myself my underdog story. I'm
That's powerful.
Stopping to do that. I'm grateful for it. If it comes up, it's cool. In this conversation, it's fine. But I'm not telling myself that.
Yeah, that's
because
not who you are anymore.
If I think that I'm the underdog, then the universe gives me resistance, and then everything has to be really hard. You know what I'm picturing now? Literally picturing when I shower, I feel like all that water is just money and it's coming into me, and then I have like a blower where it's blowing out. Because I want to lead from contribution. Money has never been that important to me. I don't care about it. But I can't tell myself, it's different than before. I don't care about it because what I do care about is time. Spending time with my children, spending time with you guys, spending time with my wife, right? I know I can't buy that with money, but I can buy more of it with what is left, right? So understanding that paradigm. So what I'm working on is being able to receive, because I'm realizing, man, you gotta put your mask on first. And when you are full and complete, you will be able to heal so many people or help so many people, because I truly feel it's not about money, it's about contributing.
Absolutely.
It's about contribution. Dude, I used to hear that from the Tony Robbins of the world. I'm like, oh, what? Is that how rich people get rich? You know what I mean? Is that the lingo I gotta use to get rich? But I get it.
Yeah.
Because if you make some money, what is left to do? Helping people feels good, bro. Like even the guy that's doing this podcast, man, this guy, me and had crying moments in my office, helping. And I get to do that with a lot of people. I learn, they learn. It's friggin' fabulous.
Yeah. And to add to your point, you know, the ability to give away, donate money, to contribute says, I believe I'm abundant. I believe I got another 100,000 million on the way. So I'm going to give out 10K or whatever that amount is. You're letting the universe know money is flowing. It comes to me and I give it out. Like I've just started listening to The Richest Man in Babylon.
you're telling me, man.
Yeah.
And after you told me, I heard about it 3 times.
There
So
you
I got to
go.
get that book.
There you go.
now.
And
yeah.
for me, I'm overcoming a deep money scarcity mindset
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
like most, immigrant parents, money doesn't grow on trees. Save, don't waste. Only rich people get richer.
Yeah.
Money's the root of all evil. People with money are assholes.
That's only for rich people. Yeah.
So I grew up with that in my mind, which is why, it has been so hard for me to keep my abundance. Like, I've made a lot of money in my lifetime, but a part of me doesn't feel comfortable holding money because it's not something I was brought up with, right? And many people suffer from a deep money scarcity mindset. Actually, Mav and I were talking about this yesterday. And like you said, the awareness is where the healing starts. So every time I catch myself being a little cheap, like, you go to leave the tip, it's like 10, 15, 20. It's like, I keep 20. Oh, it's 20. Oh, it's 20. Why? Because, again, just letting money flow and just giving back like that, And that is where I feel a lot of people are blocked when it comes to their abundance, and that has them in fight or flight. That's got their nervous system activated. So if you're a realtor, and you're speaking to a client and you're coming from a place of, oh man, I got to close this listing. I got to close this listing. I mean, I got to get it. They're going to feel that on a subconscious level, and that's why, doing this work and healing those wounds and just being the most complete version of yourself is so important, because when you do this personal development work, it's going to help your relationships, it's going to help your health, and it's going to help you make more money because you're operating from a more whole and complete place, and you're now of the frequency of abundance,
For the realtors that you mentioned, man, real quick little nugget, change the word sell to help. That's what I did, man.
Yeah.
I never looked for the sell. I helped people. I became really good at what I did. I obsessively studied what real estate is all about. So anytime somebody wanted a house, they're like, call Rick. I do it for one person, then they tell all their friends, that guy knows what he's doing. It's happening now, actually, with the brokerage that I'm growing and the other things that I'm doing. Hey, you want to know about EXP? Call Rick.
Yeah.
Why? Why me? Why me? Because it's the same formula.
Yeah.
Formulas translate. That's the same Rick that can go and get a mic in front of 10,000 people and drop that down, or go into a boxing ring in front of thousands of people and get knocked out potentially. Why? I'll tell you why. I'm not really innately that guy. I'm an overweight, insecure kid when I was younger, but I built confidence and I had some things going for me. Number one, I was always a big dude. Like in grade 10, I was 5'11", 190 pounds. By the time I was in grade 12, I was like 6'1", 200 pounds, right? So I wasn't really facing bullying and stuff.
Right.
Then I had an older brother that was the shit, right? He was the shit, right? Like, so I think I was lucky in getting that confidence, but I was insecure when it came to my body. Like you were talking about, I was insecure when it came to like playing sports. All my guys were sick basketball players. I didn't start playing basketball until I was like 17. And these guys started playing when they were like 8.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I'm going to have to do reflection. I kept showing up. Hey, Rick, just get rebounds. Cool. Hey, okay, Rick, set picks. Cool. I did it, and I did it good. And then as time went on, I was playing with them and even beating some of them, right? So I'm trying to figure out what that is, so we can kind of share it. The only thing I could think about is drive and confidence.
And your competitive nature, your need to want to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Right. One thing you mentioned, I just want to jump back to is, you mentioned you always want to pick up the tab.
Yeah.
Now, where do you think you got that from?
Ooh.
Did you ever see your father do it?
Nah.
Your father? No, he's like, nah, Dad'll be like, I got to go to the bathroom.
Me and my parents never went out for dinner, never went on vacations.
Okay.
That didn't happen. It was just cooking at home. That's all they could afford. My older brother did it, and it made me feel good. That's one vision that's coming to me.
So, what's important with that is you admired your brother. You looked up to him.
And he passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's gone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died with brain cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that happened a few years ago.
So that was a big... So he got diagnosed with brain cancer in 2010.
Wow.
2011, I was holding his hand, and he passed away. When he passed away, he gave me a little gift. I don't know what that was. And now I have a little cheat code because I have angels watching me and all that kind of stuff. I'm at the right place at the right time. I'm just tuning in. I don't see my life as like, oh, I got to go create all this stuff. I got to wake up, do my thing, and all I got to do is be observant. And I told you I was naturally observant.
Right.
So I come up and I observe. I'm like, okay, And then I go with my gut, right? Okay, talking to you feels really good. I want more of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking to that person, no judgment, doesn't feel good. I don't want that.
Sure.
Right? And then I was at a place with my life where, I wasn't in good relationships, didn't have good people in my life. I had history with a lot of the guys that I hung out with, but they don't have my back. Like when I started making it and doing all this stuff, they were probably the first ones to say, look at that guy, right? Who does he think he is now? Da, 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 da. I know I felt that and I know it's true. But the point is, I pictured a cup, right? And my cup was full. And I looked at it and I was like, this cup here can only hold so much volume. In order for me to get good things in my life, I got to empty my cup. And then when I emptied my cup, I started really doing deep diving. So that was a huge thing of personal development is when my brother died.
Yeah.
Because when you're
I wanted
in
to ask you
pain,
about that, what that was like.
yeah, it's called growing pains, right? So then after that, I started emptying my cup. And that included getting a divorce. That included letting go of a lot of people that were in my life. And then I think the reason why people don't empty their cup is because there's a period of time of loneliness, okay? And that period of time is very important. For me, it was about 3.5 years, and I was just doing my thing, and I was forced to learn. I was forced to be in that pain, which helped me grow. And then when I was vibrating, and because you attract not what you want, but who you are, right? So as I became a different person, different people came into my life. I actually met an awesome woman. I actually met awesome people like you, and it just started going on from there.
Got it. Yeah. And I'm sure when your brother passed away, it caused you to really reflect on what you wanted for your life, what you wanted to do. Often when we lose someone who we really love, sometimes it can be guilt of like, why them, and like, why did I get chosen to live? And what do I want to do with the rest of my life now? And it just gives you that appreciation for the fact that you have a life.
Yeah.
And the fact that your brother used to pick up the bill and you used to, you admire your brother and still do.
Yeah.
That may be, again, that.
Yeah. I'm older brother.
You're the older brother.
I'm older brother,
and,
bro. With a lot
yeah.
of people around me, hey, bro. When you go out with lunch with old brother, his older brother. That's what we do. Now, a lot of times, the people that I'm are my mentees, and I don't even want to call them that. My friends, my family, my circle. A lot of times, I happen to be blessed at a better financial position, so we go for, let's do that, right? But that's different than what I'm working on. What I'm working on is just being able to receive, because the universe wants to help me. God wants to help me. Source wants to help me, right? They want me to be the best version of myself. So if I'm not receiving, my wife taught me a good lesson. You know what she said to me one day? She's like, Rick, you don't let me love you. I'm like, what are you talking about? I do this and I do that. I'm the best, whatever, And she's like, hear me. She goes, you do all this stuff. I want to do it for you. I was like, shit, I don't let you love me. Yeah. I want to appreciate you. So now I'm learning to lean in.
Do you know what your love languages are?
Yeah. Acts of service, physical touch. And by physical touch, it comes back from not having that affection.
When you were young.
Yeah, you got it,
same.
Bro. You nailed it. Yeah. So a hug is very important to me.
Yeah.
If you want to give me a Christmas gift, give me a hug.
Oh,
I'm always hugging people.
Yeah.
Like, you came in, I hugged you. Came in, I hugged him.
Yeah.
Hugged the boy that came in, Dave. And like, it's just, I like physical touch. I like acts of service. I could care less about gifts.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like, why you waste your money on me? Spend it on yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but that also could be a thing about having issues receiving, right?
100%.
Yeah.
But at least we know it.
Yeah.
And now you got to isolate it, work on it, because that's what I do. I observe myself. I look at, back to that money thing. Same thing. We can relate, right? I thought money was bad. How did I get there? It was from my past, healing my inner child. Now I think money is great. This is the first time on your podcast, I'm going to say this in public. I love money.
Yeah.
I friggin' love money. Rain it down.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed to say that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a bad person saying
Yeah.
that growing up. You have that too?
Oh man, yeah, I got something
Yeah.
I want to add to that when
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah, go add to it, man.
So if this was 5 years ago, I would have just puked in my mouth
Me too.
because I used to think.
Say it. Say I love money.
Anybody, I used to think anybody who loves money, ugh,
Right?
ugh, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then as I've been doing this work around money mindset, and yes, I do love money.
Yeah.
And I love money because it gives me the abundance and the ability to do what I do on a larger level. And look, I like a Porsche. I like nice clothes. I like fancy restaurants. I like that shit. And you know what? As you said, you get referrals and you do well in real estate because you provide value.
Yeah.
You provide a lot of value. You help your clients save hundreds of thousands and profit hundreds of thousands, even millions. You do that.
Yeah.
So why don't you deserve a percentage of that? Of course you do.
Of course you do. Because
They
the more you
trust
get, more you can help.
They know you got their best interest in mind, and that is priceless. So for me, what changed my paradigm around money, I remember I was at this event in Costa Rica called ATL, and this woman behind me, my dear friend Yurlin Ramirez, I'm going to tag you in this. This woman behind me said, I love money and money loves me. And I just like, I'm like,
I would have done that too.
And you know, in understanding energy, vibration, and frequency, and understanding that everything has a frequency to it, when I was told that money and love are of the same frequency, that for me just didn't compute.
Yeah.
That almost got me angry because, again, money makes people bad. Money's the root of all evil. Money changes people, right? So for me, money has always had a negative connotation to it, right?
Me too.
And money is, you know, being in the club business, making a lot of cash, I had to hide my money. You know, there's always this kind of like gray area to even having money. So my abundance was never like, you know, I'm getting like fat dividend checks that I could be like proud of and I could put in my bank. Anyways, I don't want CRA coming after my ass. But when I heard that money is the same frequency of love, I didn't get that. And they said, well, look, when you provide a service, you help this young family find this beautiful house in a great neighborhood that they never would have found on their own, and you were able to negotiate a deal and save them $30,000 or $40,000, and you hold their hand through the process, you check up on them after, you deal with the different discrepancies that are required, you go above and beyond what the typical realtor would do, and as a result, they bought a property that's going to appreciate 30% in the next 5 years. You have provided such a valuable service. When they pay you, what are they gonna give you? Back in the day, they give you chicken or goats as your compensation. Money is a representation of their appreciation. Appreciation is rooted in gratitude and love.
Nailed it.
I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. I love what you've done for me and my family. Here you go. That money is just a representation of the appreciation and the love that someone feels for you.
Yeah.
When I help a client, you know, my clients pay between 10 to 20K for my services. And somebody might say, well, that's a lot. A divorce is a lot more.
Yeah.
Having a broken relationship with your child is a lot more.
Being out of shape is a lot more.
100%. Having a heart attack, whatever else. So if I can help you overcome that, is that not worth 10 or 20K? Of course it is. You know, so, and that, before I used to charge 3K for my coaching. I went from 3K to 25K because I realized I'm helping entrepreneurs make hundreds of thousands and millions a year.
Yeah.
So can I let go of that blockage that money is evil and money makes people bad? No, I'm providing, just like you, a highly valuable service. And as a result, people are expressing their love and gratitude for me in the form of money.
Yeah.
And that for me is like, oh yeah, you know what? I like that. That makes sense. I can accept that.
Yeah.
And that's what really shifted that for me. And now it's just a process of holding the abundance and realizing like, yeah, you know what? I could have $500,000 in my bank account and not be worried about it, you know?
Dude, I want to share a story with you. When you were doing your presentation yesterday, this relating to exactly what you're saying. And I remember sitting in the crowd and people were presenting like yourself, giving a lot of value and getting cringed towards the end because I know they're going to want me to buy something, right? Sitting in the crowd, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs, people in general, I think this is a big shift that needs to be made. People in general, they will not invest in themselves. And that comes from a lack of love for yourself.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like if it is 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on real estate coaching. It was one of the best things that I do, right? But this is not about me. So here's my request. Invest in yourself because you're worth it. Instead of buying a Ferrari, make yourself the friggin' Ferrari, right?
Yeah. Or that Cartier, or that Chanel bag.
Whatever.
You know?
Because when you walk in a room and you are the Ferrari or whatever, you don't need that Ferrari. Get it, do it, but get it for the right reason. So investing in yourself is absolutely huge. And here's another lesson, because you were talking about money. I want to share a lesson for whoever is watching. From the ultra rich, okay? Because wherever there's dark, there is light. So the reason why, going back to the reason why I didn't like money, is because I saw all these examples of people that are doing bad with money. Of course, my people are going to teach me that because they're all broke. It wasn't until I started hanging out with more wealthy people, I'm like, you know what? They're not bad. They're fit. They have great relationships. They're helping others. Here's the little shift that I learned from observing, and I want to share it. A lot of people have a bad relationship with money because innately they're trading hours for dollars. Because what they think in their mind, if I need more money, I have to do more work. What I learned from hanging around with wealthy people and observing them, that's not the way it is. They believe in residual income. They're actually making more money working less. Okay. Now, I'm not going to sit there and teach you how to do it. Joining my brokerage would be an awesome way to do it. That's just one way that was in my world, but there's tons of ways to do it. But the point of this story is like, it's the time that you buy back with your money and doing the things that you like to do. After you reach that, you have an abundance of time. And you know what most people do with an abundance of time? They contribute.
For sure.
They'll open up charities. They'll help. They'll do things for free. So it's all cyclical. If you don't get that base, you're not going to be able to go up that ladder.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what you're speaking about reminds me of the paradigm of do, have, be. If I do enough, I'll have the money and then I can be happy. So my happiness is dependent on how much I have, right? So people are caught up in this do mindset. And the flip on that is be more of yourself, be fun, be playful, be in flow. As a result, you're going to do what you love because you're being your most authentic self. And when you're in that high vibration of authenticity, love, and gratitude, you're going to attract, you're going to have everything you want. But for most people, they can't understand that because we think we need to do. So I tell people you can do less, be more, and have everything. But they don't get that because, again, it's part of an old mindset that we've grown up with. Wow. But this is these conversations and the personal development work that we've been fortunate enough to experience is what's shifted our perspective. So now we see the world through a different paradigm. Yeah. So for anybody who's listening, who is maybe new on, or maybe they're curious, they're listening to this conversation and they are like, yeah, you know what? Wow. That sounds like something I could use, something I could benefit. Well, what are some of the steps or things that they could do, in your opinion, that have been helpful for you that would help them to begin their path?
Man, number one, I have a little edge, so I'm going to call it check your ego, but you can do whatever you want in terms of call it whatever you want. Understanding that you don't know it all is step number one. If you can't overcome that step, nothing else is going to happen, right? Number two, I believe in Audible and audiobooks. I think that is, you have to, because you're surrounding yourself with people and you're learning great things.
Yes.
Number three, go out and accomplish one thing. You know, I mentioned it before. This is a belief of mine. In order to, for you, it was a gym. For me, it was a gym. Whatever it is for you that anybody's watching, if you want a lot of things, you have to conquer that one thing, because conquering that one thing is going to build the belief.
Yeah. And it's going to put you out there and open up new opportunities for you.
A person that believes in themselves and there is confidence, like attracting things is still far away, right? Like, I mean, not far away, it's every day. And you can speak better on that than I can, right? So I'm not going to go there. But what I'm saying is, if you don't do that, like just if you can if you want to attract better things in your life, you have to be a better person to yourself.
Absolutely.
And the only way I feel that you can be a better person is to just have confidence. Walking in a room and be like, okay, I can hang, I can do this, I can talk to people, I can lose that 20 pounds, I can stop smoking. So that will relate. Once you prove that one thing to yourself, I'm gonna tell you, I promise you, you're gonna go on to that next thing.
Yeah.
And that's self-development in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen, your environment's going to change. And you're going to seek and surround yourself with like-minded people because it's just automatically going to be attracted.
Yeah.
You know, like if you wanted to lose 20 pounds and now every day you're going to the gym or a class, guess who else you're meeting there? And now you're going to seek out the people that got results like you. You just made a little crew.
That's it. Yeah, and when you are with like-minded people and in that community, as you go through that shift, because look, there'll be ups and downs. There are times you're going to fall off.
Yeah.
You know, but then you have people who are on the same journey as you, dealing with the same struggles, who's there to support you and help you through it. And that's why for me, like, you know, when I first began, whether it be Landmark or the Archangel community, that was so helpful for me because a lot of times the people around you, they're going to think you're going crazy. They're going to think you lost your mind. They're going to be like, you're doing what? And when you have these new people who are sometimes, you know, they'll be further ahead than you by a year or two or more, and you get to see what life is like on the other side of the challenge you're going through. It's inspiring. It's what pulls you forward because you realize, you see the proof and you're like, oh, that's where I want to be. Okay, I get it. And then you get to learn from that person as well.
I got to sum it up in one thing, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, right? But back in our Artbound trip, the charity trip, we were all in a big van. We were sitting in the back. I was sitting beside Sonia. I had a tank top on, my sunglasses, right? And this is actually a good story. So, and then people call me Vin Diesel.
Yeah, I
remember that?
Yeah.
You're looking like, yo, man, you're Vin Diesel. The way you talk, you're Vin Diesel. You're Vin Diesel. And I was like, yeah. And you were sitting beside me, and I whispered to you, I'm like, bro. And I think this is the first conversation I've ever had with you.
Yeah.
It was, hi, I'm Zarek at the airport. And then this was
Yeah.
to the drive to the hotel. And then it wasn't a hotel, but whatever the site was. And I was like, you know what, man? I'm not Vin Diesel. I'm actually Winnie the Pooh. You remember that? You remember that? I go, I'm Winnie the Pooh, right? So why am I sharing
and
that?
in that one sentence, you told me who you were. Like, I mean, beyond
Yeah.
that, like, I knew who you were behind the muscles and the glasses. Like, I got you.
Yeah. So if any, so that works because I dove into my Winnie.
Yeah.
Right? I dove into my Winnie. And the reason why I did that is because you don't have, I feel like toughness and edge comes from blocking insecurities. That's why step one in personal development is just figuring out who you actually are and just living your authentic life.
Taking off the mask and just and not being afraid to ask for help. Yeah.
Winnie's a lot more powerful than Vin, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, we're all on the same journey. We're all going to the same place at the end of the day, you know? And we could either do that alone and struggle, or we could do it together with support, you know, and enjoy and share this beautiful journey together. Yeah, man. Well, my man, I'm happy to be on this journey with you. I look forward to, you know, more co-creations, more beautiful conversations, and just growing and expanding and spreading the light, you know, because that's what we're doing here.
Proud of you, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you as well. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for having me yesterday speak with your office, and yeah, man, just grateful for your friendship.
Likewise, bro.
If you enjoyed this podcast and you learned something valuable, then please hit subscribe so you don't miss the future episodes. I'd love it if you share this with a friend and leave us a review. Your feedback is so important to our growth. Thank you for supporting the Path to Purpose podcast. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next episode.